The sky above Sarava glowed with soft shades of silver and blue as the floating city drifted among the clouds. Crystal spires reached upward like frozen lightning, and gentle winds carried the hum of energy flowing through the city's bridges. Luma stood on a wide balcony, her dark eyes scanning the horizon. She was quiet and thoughtful, the older of two sisters who lived in the tall crystal tower near the city's heart. Her sister Rena, younger and lively, came running to her side. "Did you hear that sound?" Rena asked, her voice full of curiosity. "Something streaked through the clouds." Luma nodded. "I saw a flash. It was fast. Maybe a broken ship." The sisters leaned over the edge, looking down through layers of mist. A faint trail of smoke spiraled below. Without hesitation, Rena grabbed a glider rod, a light device used for quick flights between platforms. Luma followed her. Together they stepped off the balcony, their wings of woven light catching the air. The wind rushed past them as they glided downward toward the smoke. They found the wreckage on a low floating platform of rock covered with silver moss. A small starship lay broken in two, sparks flickering from its damaged panels. Near the wreck, a human man struggled to stand. His suit was torn, and one of his arms hung weakly by his side. He looked up at them with tired but determined eyes. "Please," he said, his voice rough, "I need help." Rena landed first and reached for him. "You are from Earth, aren't you?" she asked. "We have heard of humans but never met one." The man nodded. "My name is Ben. My ship was hit by a storm. The energy surge burned out my controls." His knees buckled, and Luma caught him before he could fall. She was surprised at how light he felt in her arms. His breathing was shallow, and his skin was pale beneath the strange markings of his suit. "We must take him to the healers," Luma said firmly. "If we leave him here, he will not survive the cold night winds." Together, the sisters guided Ben onto the glider rod. Rena took the front while Luma supported him from behind. The flight back was slow but steady. Ben stayed silent most of the way, but his eyes never stopped moving. He watched the shimmering bridges of Sarava and the glowing crystal towers with awe. Even in his weakened state, wonder filled his expression. When they arrived at their tower, the sisters called for the healing drones. Small silver orbs hovered around Ben, scanning his injuries and wrapping his arm with light bands that glowed softly. Warmth spread through his body as the machines worked. "You saved my life," Ben said quietly when the pain began to fade. "I thought I was done for when the storm hit." "You are safe now," Luma replied. Her voice was calm but held a hint of curiosity. "Humans are known to be explorers. What brought you so far from your world?" Ben looked at the sisters, unsure how much to share. But something in their gentle faces made him trust them. "I was mapping star routes," he said. "We're looking for allies. Earth is small compared to the empires out here. We thought maybe Sarava could be a friend." Rena's eyes widened. "A friend," she repeated. "No one has ever come here for that. Most who find us want our energy crystals or our sky maps. But you ask for friendship." Ben gave a tired smile. "I ask for survival. Alone, humans can't stand against the dark corners of space. But together with others, maybe we can." The sisters exchanged a glance. Luma felt a strange pull in her chest, a mix of admiration and something softer she could not name. She saw the way Ben spoke even while in pain, steady and sincere. Rena, meanwhile, could not hide her excitement. She had always dreamed of meeting someone from beyond Sarava's clouds. They gave Ben a small room in their tower. From his window, he could see the endless sky stretching like an ocean. He spent hours that first night recovering, listening to the distant hum of the city. He thought of his damaged ship and his distant crew, but he also thought of the two sisters who had saved him. Something about their world felt alive in a way he had never known. The next morning, Ben woke to the sound of Rena's laughter. She was showing him a small saravan bird, a winged creature shaped like a drifting petal. Luma watched from the doorway, her expression unreadable but her eyes soft. Ben stepped outside onto the balcony, the cool air brushing his face. The city glimmered around him, floating among the clouds as if untouched by time. For the first time since the storm, Ben felt hope. Maybe his journey was not over. Maybe, on this strange and beautiful world, he would find more than just help. He might find a future no map had ever shown. The sun of Sarava rose as a soft golden sphere above the clouds, turning the floating city into a dream of light and shadow. Ben stood on the balcony of the sisters' tower, the cool wind brushing against his face. He had slept well for the first time since the crash, and though his arm was still weak, he felt stronger. Below him, bridges of crystal stretched like spider silk between the floating platforms. The city hummed with life, and far in the distance, music drifted on the air. Rena joined him with a bright smile. She held a tray of round, shimmering fruit that sparkled like dew. "You should try this," she said, handing him a piece. "It is called Sky Pearl. It is sweet and light. It will help your strength." Ben took a careful bite. The fruit melted on his tongue, leaving a fresh taste that reminded him of rain. "This is amazing," he said. "Your world is beautiful." Rena's eyes glowed with pride. "Sarava is special. Today it will be even more so. The Festival of Bonds begins at sunset. Everyone will be in the main plaza to celebrate." She looked at him curiously. "Do humans have such a thing?" Ben thought for a moment. "Not exactly like that. But on Earth, we have celebrations for love and loyalty. The way you describe it, your festival sounds like a promise people make to one another." Luma stepped onto the balcony, her long cloak swaying in the breeze. She had been listening quietly. "The Festival of Bonds is the most important day of the year," she said. "Pairs step forward and declare unity for life. It can be for love, for friendship, or for the promise of shared purpose. It is more than a ceremony. It strengthens the city's harmony." Ben nodded, understanding the weight in her tone. It must be a powerful tradition. Later that morning, Rena led Ben through the city. She showed him the hanging gardens where plants grew in spirals of silver leaves. She guided him across narrow bridges that sway gently above endless clouds. Ben was careful with each step, his boots slipping slightly on the smooth crystal, but Rena laughed and encouraged him. She was eager to share every hidden corner with him. In the market plaza, bright banners of light waved in the air. Saravan citizens floated on gliders between platforms, carrying flowers, music crystals, and colorful ribbons. Children chased skybirds that darted between the towers. Ben watched it all with wide eyes. He felt like he had stepped into a storybook. Many Saravans glanced at him with surprise but offered kind nods. Humans were rare visitors, and his presence was clearly the subject of whispers. At one of the bridges, an elder Saravan approached. His silver robe fluttered in the breeze. "You are the human traveler," he said. "Your arrival during the festival is a sign. Perhaps the stars guide your path." His voice was gentle but strong. Ben bowed his head respectfully. "I am just lucky to be alive," Ben replied. "Your people saved me." The elder smiled and walked away, leaving Ben thoughtful. Beside him, Rena looked excited. "He is the keeper of the festival traditions," she whispered. "If he sees meaning in your presence, maybe it is important." As the day moved toward evening, Ben returned to the tower to rest. He found Luma in the workroom, repairing one of the damaged gliders. Her hands were steady as she adjusted the delicate energy lines. "Rena has been showing me your city," Ben said. "It is incredible. I have never seen anything like it." Luma looked up, her dark eyes meeting his. "You seem to understand its spirit quickly," she said. "Most outsiders see only the crystals and the light. But you see the people." Ben hesitated, then smiled. "Maybe because I know what it feels like to be far from home. People matter most when everything else is uncertain." For a moment, Luma was silent. She studied him with a quiet curiosity that felt different from her usual calm. She sensed a strength in him, something steady and warm. It stirred something inside her she had not expected. That evening, the sky turned a deep violet, and the first stars appeared above the clouds. The city glowed with soft lanterns that floated like fireflies. Ben joined the sisters as they walked toward the main plaza. Music filled the air, and the sound of distant chimes echoed through the bridges. The plaza was a great open space surrounded by towering crystals that pulsed with gentle light. In the center, a wide platform floated, waiting for the pairs who would step forward. Rena leaned close to Ben. "It is even more beautiful than last year," she whispered. Her excitement was contagious, and Ben could not help but smile. The festival began with a chorus of voices singing the old songs of Sarava. Couples came forward one by one, placing their hands together and speaking vows of unity. Each vow caused the crystals to glow brighter, sending ripples of light across the plaza. Ben watched, deeply moved by the beauty and sincerity of the moment. On Earth, he had seen many ceremonies, but none had felt so alive with meaning. As the night deepened, Rena's hand brushed against his arm. She looked at him quickly, then looked away, her cheeks faintly glowing under the lantern light. Luma stood on his other side, her expression calm but her gaze thoughtful. Ben sensed an unspoken tension between the sisters, though he did not yet understand its cause. Above them, the stars of Sarava's sky burned bright, as if they too were watching what would unfold. For the first time since leaving Earth, Ben felt that the universe was not just vast and empty. It was full of connections waiting to be made. Morning sunlight filtered through the crystal walls of the sisters' tower, scattering tiny rainbows across the room where Ben worked on a broken energy conduit. He sat cross-legged on the floor, his hands steady as he adjusted wires and glowing nodes. Though still sore from his injuries, he had insisted on helping repair what the storm had damaged. He wanted to repay their kindness. Rena watched him with a bright expression, leaning casually against the doorway. "You are clever with machines," she said. "Even our best builders take longer than you to fix a conduit." Ben chuckled quietly. "On Earth, we fix what we can with what we have. I guess that habit follows us everywhere." He tightened a connector, and the conduit pulsed with a soft blue glow. "There. That should hold." Rena stepped closer, her eyes shining with admiration. "You do not just fix things. You make them stronger. Sarava has not seen a human before, but I think they will remember you." Before Ben could answer, Luma entered the room, her face calm but her steps slower than usual. She carried a set of folded glider wings and placed them on a nearby table. "The council has been speaking about you," she said. "They wonder if your presence could mean a new path for Sarava. But they also fear change." Ben nodded, sensing the weight behind her words. I understand their caution, he replied. I am just here by chance. I don't want to bring trouble. Luma studied him for a moment, then looked at the conduit he had repaired. You have already brought light where there was none. That is not trouble. Her voice was steady, but her gaze lingered on him longer than she intended. Later that day, Rena suggested a walk through the Sky Gardens. The gardens floated on wide platforms above the city, their silver-leaved trees and bright flowers swaying in the breeze. Ben walked beside her, taking in the view of endless clouds stretching to the horizon. The air smelled faintly of sweet nectar. They stopped at a narrow bridge lined with glowing vines. Rena's voice was softer now. Ben, tonight, I think I will ask you something important during the festival's closing songs. Ben raised an eyebrow. Something important? Rena nodded. I have never felt this way about anyone. I think Sarava could become a new home for you. And maybe, if you wish, we could share a bond. She looked down shyly, her cheeks glowing in the soft light. Ben was caught off guard. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could respond, a quiet sound came from behind them. Luma stood at the edge of the bridge, her expression unreadable. She had followed them, intending to join their walk, but now she had heard every word. Rena turned, startled. Luma. I did not hear you come. Luma's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. I did not mean to overhear. But you speak of bonds so easily. She looked at Ben. You have been here only a short time. Do you even know what a Saravan bond means? It is not a simple promise. It is life itself. Rena frowned. I know what it means. And I know what I feel. The tension between them was new and sharp. Ben looked from one sister to the other, unsure how to step between them. He could feel the closeness they had always shared, but now a crack had opened. They walked back to the tower in silence. The evening light painted the city in shades of rose and gold, but the beauty did little to ease the heaviness in the air. When they reached their home, Rena left quickly for her room, her steps hurried. Luma stayed behind, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Ben approached her quietly. Luma, I didn't mean to come between you. She met his gaze, her eyes softer now but still troubled. It is not your fault, she said. Rena and I have always been as close as two voices in one song. But now, she looked away, her voice lower. Now I am afraid the song is breaking. Ben wanted to comfort her, but he felt the weight of his own confusion. He admired Rena's bright spirit and laughter, but Luma's calm strength had drawn him in from the beginning. He had not expected to feel so connected to either of them, and now he was unsure of his place. That night, the city prepared for the festival's closing ceremony. Lanterns drifted into the sky like tiny moons, their lights reflecting off the crystal spires. Music filled the air once again, but the sisters stood apart for the first time. Rena watched Ben from across the plaza, her heart full of both hope and fear. Luma stood closer to him, but her hands were clasped tightly, as if holding herself back. The council's elder spoke of unity and trust, his voice carrying across the gathering. Ben listened, but his thoughts were a storm. He understood now that his arrival had changed more than just his own fate. The two sisters, bound by family and tradition, were now bound to him in a way none of them had expected. As the stars brightened above Sarava, a silent understanding grew between them. Choices were coming, choices that could either heal or break the harmony they all cherished. And though Ben did not yet know what path to take, he felt the universe watching, as if waiting to see whether humanity's heart could bridge even this new divide. The sky above Sarava had been calm for many days, but a strange energy flickered along the horizon now. The crystal towers shimmered faintly under a restless wind. Ben stood on the balcony of the sisters' tower, watching thin arcs of light move through distant clouds. He felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cool air. Rena joined him, her hair swept by the breeze. "The winds are shifting again," she said quietly. "I can feel it in the bridges. The last time this happened, your ship was struck." Ben nodded, his jaw tight. If another storm like that hits, the city could be in danger. He glanced back inside the tower where Luma was already gathering tools and scanning the energy grid maps. She had sensed it too. The council's warning bells began to ring across the city. Their clear tones echoed between the floating platforms. Saravan citizens hurried to secure their homes, pulling gliders into shelters and locking down energy conduits. Lanterns were extinguished to conserve power. Luma entered the balcony, holding a small control device. "The storm is forming faster than before," she said. "If the main power grid fails, the city's lower platforms will drift apart. We must stabilize the conduits near the central bridge." "I can help," Ben said without hesitation. Rena's eyes flickered with worry, but she nodded. "Then we will go together. You repaired the conduit before, you know its workings better than many here." The three of them donned protective cloaks that shimmered faintly with energy shielding. They stepped onto a glider rod and soared through the growing wind. The sky was darker now, streaked with angry colors. Green, purple, and silver lightning danced among the clouds. The floating platforms groaned under the pressure of shifting air currents. As they approached the central bridge, the storm struck. A wave of energy tore through the clouds, shaking the glider violently. Ben gripped the rail and steadied Rena, who nearly slipped. Luma's calm voice cut through the roaring wind. "Hold steady. We are almost there." They landed on the trembling platform, the bridge swaying dangerously. Sparks leapt from broken conduits as the storm's energy surged through the city's systems. Ben crouched beside a damaged panel and opened his repair kit. "I need the power diverted," he shouted over the noise. "If we don't reroute it, the platform will separate." Luma sprinted to a control node, her fingers flying over the glowing keys. Rena scanned the horizon and spotted another surge approaching. "Another wave is coming," she cried. Ben worked quickly, his hands steady even as the wind threatened to tear the tools from his grip. He felt the platform tilt slightly under his feet. Rena rushed to his side, holding the panel steady so he could finish. The surge hit, and the bridge lurched. A sharp crack echoed as part of the railing broke away, plunging into the clouds below. Luma saw the break and made a quick decision. She ran across the shaking bridge to guide Ben and Rena toward a more stable section. But before she reached them, another bolt of energy struck nearby, throwing her off balance. She slipped, her feet sliding dangerously close to the edge. Ben dropped his tools and leapt forward. He grabbed Luma's arm just in time, his boots skidding on the slick surface. Rena darted in and wrapped her arms around Ben's waist, anchoring them all. The three of them hung there for a tense moment, the storm screaming around them. With effort, Ben pulled Luma back to safety. Her breath came in short bursts, but she managed a small, grateful nod. "You saved me," she said, her voice barely a whisper over the wind. "I couldn't let you fall," Ben replied, his tone firm but gentle. They steadied themselves and returned to the panel. Working together, they rerouted the power. Luma called out the energy levels, Rena stabilized the glider cables, and Ben sealed the damaged conduit. Finally, the blue glow of the repaired line spread across the bridge, steady and bright. The storm continued to rage around them, but the platform held. The floating city's lights flickered, then steadied. Distant bells rang again, signaling that the immediate danger had passed. As the winds began to calm, the three of them remained on the bridge for a moment, catching their breath. Rena looked at her sister, relief flooding her face. "We did it," she said softly. Luma met her gaze, then looked at Ben. In her eyes was a mix of gratitude and something deeper. Rena saw it too, and her heart tightened. She had felt proud working beside Ben, sharing danger and trust, but she also knew Luma's feelings were no less strong. They glided back to the tower as dawn's first light broke through the clouds. The city below was battered but safe. Citizens emerged from their shelters, cheering when they saw the sisters and the human return. The council's elder bowed deeply to them, his voice ringing out. "Sarava stands because of your courage." Ben felt the weight of those words. He had come here by accident, a lost explorer, but now he was part of their story. He glanced at Luma and Rena. They were silent, but their eyes spoke volumes. They had faced the storm together, yet the storm between their hearts was only beginning. The sun dipped low over the floating city of Sarava, painting the crystal towers with soft shades of orange and pink. Lanterns began to rise into the sky, floating like gentle fireflies. The air smelled of sweet nectar and the faint tang of the repaired energy conduits. Ben walked slowly along a quiet bridge with Luma, the hum of the city soft in the background. Luma's hands were clasped together, her calm expression hiding the storm of emotions she felt. "Ben," she began, her voice low but steady, "there is something I need to say. Something I have not shared before." Ben looked at her, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "You can tell me anything," he said. "I will listen." Luma took a deep breath. "When you arrived, I saw only a human in need. But over time, I have realized something more. I admire your courage and your kindness. You are unlike anyone I have ever met. I feel that I care for you deeply." Ben's chest tightened. He had felt a connection with Luma from the first moment she helped him, but hearing her say it aloud made the feeling real. Before he could respond, a soft voice called from the side of the bridge. "Luma." "Ben, wait." It was Rena. She approached quickly, her eyes bright and determined. She did not stop until she stood close, her hands gripping the railing. "I cannot stay silent either," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I have thought of this for many days. Ben, I care for you too. I want you to be part of my life. I cannot let you belong to anyone alone." For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the gentle hum of the energy flowing beneath the bridge. Ben felt a rush of confusion and emotion. Two sisters, both kind, brave, and devoted, had confessed their feelings to him. He wanted to honor them both, but the choice seemed impossible. He looked first at Luma, who met his gaze with steady eyes. Then he looked at Rena, whose excitement and warmth made his heart race. I care for both of you," he said finally, his voice soft but firm. "I did not expect this, but I see now that I cannot choose only one. You both matter to me, and I hope we can find a way to be together without hurting each other." The sisters exchanged a glance, a mix of relief and surprise on their faces. Luma's lips curved into a small, shy smile, and Rena's eyes sparkled like the floating lanterns around them. They had feared that revealing their feelings would cause conflict, but Ben's words brought a strange sense of hope. I had feared losing you to each other, Luma said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. But perhaps, we can share this together. If we are honest and trust one another, it might be possible. Rena nodded, her hand brushing against Ben's arm. I do not want to fight with my sister. I love her too, and I want her to be part of this. Ben, if you are willing, we can face this together. Ben's heart swelled with gratitude and affection. I am willing, he said. I will do my best to honor both of you, and I hope we can learn from each other every day. The sun finally disappeared below the horizon, leaving a sky painted with stars. The city's lanterns reflected on the floating platforms, and the soft hum of the energy grids filled the air. The three of them stood side by side, feeling the quiet power of the city and the bond forming between them. Tomorrow, Luma said, we will go to the festival together. We will step forward as three. The city will see what unity means, and we will show that trust and honesty are stronger than fear. Rena smiled, her hand finding Ben's. It will not be easy, she said. Some may not understand. But we have each other, and that is enough to start. Ben felt a warmth in his chest he had never known before. He had traveled across the stars, faced storms, and survived danger, but this moment, this connection with the two sisters, was the most powerful experience of all. As night fully settled over Sarava, the floating city glittered like a jewel against the dark sky. The three of them walked back toward the tower together, their steps in sync, their hearts full of unspoken promises. Above them, stars shone as if in approval, and the soft wind carried the faint sound of the festival music from the plaza below. In that quiet, magical moment, Ben understood that life could be extraordinary in ways he had never imagined. He had found courage, trust, and love on a distant world, not just in one person, but in two remarkable sisters who had opened their hearts to him. The night felt endless, full of hope and possibility. They were not just facing the future, they were shaping it together, with honesty, care, and courage. The city of Sarava shimmered under a sky of deep violet and silver as the Festival of Bonds reached its peak. Lanterns floated high above the crystal spires, and the soft hum of energy flowing through the bridges mingled with the music of the festival. Citizens gathered on every platform, their eyes bright with anticipation. The main plaza, where the bonding ceremony would take place, glowed with a soft golden light. Ben, Luma, and Rena approached the central platform together. The hum of the crowd faded into quiet curiosity as the citizens noticed the unusual trio stepping forward. The sisters' hands were close but not yet touching, and Ben walked beside them, his heart beating steadily despite the tension he felt. The council elder, an aged Saravan with robes of silver and pale blue, raised his hand to signal silence. His voice, calm and commanding, filled the plaza. This year, the Festival of Bonds welcomes a visitor from afar. He has come from the stars, seeking understanding and friendship. And now, he stands before you, not alone, but with two who care deeply for him. A murmur passed through the crowd. Such a display had never been seen before in Sarava. Usually, bonds were declared between pairs, not three. Yet, the citizens did not step back. Many of them watched with fascination, recognizing the courage it took to defy tradition with honesty and trust. Rena stepped forward, her chest lifted, and her voice clear. You cannot have him alone, sister, she said, looking at Luma. I will marry the human too. Her words surprised no one more than herself, but she felt their truth resonate deep within her. Luma's face softened. She nodded slowly, taking a deep breath. If honesty and trust allow us to stand together, then I agree, she said. We will share this bond as equals. Nothing should separate those who wish to honor each other. Ben looked at them both, feeling a warmth in his chest unlike anything he had known before. I am honored, he said, his voice steady. I will accept this bond with respect and care for both of you. Together, we will face the future, not as one or the other, but as three. The council elder studied them for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Sarava has always valued trust and courage above all else, he said. If your bond is chosen freely and honestly, it shall be recognized. Step forward, and let the city witness what unity truly means. The sisters each took one of Ben's hands, and together, the three of them stepped onto the glowing platform. As their hands joined, the crystals of the city responded. Soft waves of light flowed outward, shimmering across the floating bridges and gardens. Citizens gasped in awe. The glow was not just beautiful, it was powerful. It symbolized the strength of their honesty, trust, and shared care. The crowd began to cheer quietly, a wave of approval and acceptance spreading across the plaza. Many stepped forward to touch the floating light, showing support for the unusual bond. Children laughed and pointed, inspired by the courage of the trio, and elders smiled knowingly, seeing hope for a new understanding in the city. Ben felt the weight of their eyes and the significance of the moment. He understood that this was more than a personal choice. It was a sign that humanity, his heart and courage could bring something new and meaningful to even the oldest traditions. He felt proud to be human in that moment, not because of strength or skill, but because of the honesty and care he shared with Luma and Rena. As the elder completed the ceremony, the city's energy grids pulsed brighter, harmonizing with the platform's glow. The Festival of Bonds had never seen a display of trust and courage like this. Many citizens whispered about the human who had changed their understanding of connection and loyalty. The sisters, standing side by side with Ben, felt a bond stronger than words could describe. After the ceremony, they stepped down from the platform. Citizens approached to offer congratulations, smiles, and gestures of friendship. Ben looked at the sisters, feeling relief and joy. The storm of doubt and rivalry had passed, replaced by a shared sense of purpose. Luma and Rena both looked at him, their eyes full of warmth and care. Thank you, Ben said softly. I could not have faced this alone. You both made me stronger. Rena smiled. And you reminded us why we must trust our hearts, she said. Luma nodded, her calm strength shining through. This bond is new, but it is built on honesty. That makes it unbreakable. As the night grew darker, the lanterns above the city floated higher, their glow mirrored in the endless clouds below. The trio walked back toward the tower, hand in hand, their steps light with hope. Above them, the stars of Sarava shone like distant fires, as if witnessing a moment of history. For Ben, Luma, and Rena, the festival had changed everything. They were no longer just a human and two sisters. They were a unit, a bond of trust and care, ready to face any challenge that the future might bring. The floating city around them seemed to acknowledge this new harmony, and for the first time, the universe felt full of promise and possibility. The morning sky over Sarava was calm and bright, with gentle light reflecting off the crystal towers. Ben, Luma, and Rena stood on the balcony of the sisters' tower, looking out over the city. The Festival of Bonds had ended, and the city was waking to a new day. Citizens moved along the floating bridges, exchanging greetings and smiles. A sense of hope and curiosity filled the air, as everyone knew that something remarkable had happened the night before. Ben took a deep breath, feeling the weight and the joy of the bond he shared with the sisters. I never imagined my journey would lead me here, he said. But now that I am here, I feel like I belong, not just to this city, but with both of you. Luma smiled softly, her calm presence comforting him. You belong because you choose to care, Ben. That is what matters. Courage and strength are important, but the heart is what builds trust and connection. Rena reached out and took his hand, her energy bright and lively. And you remind us that even across the stars, we can find friendship, loyalty, and love. Sarava feels bigger now, because the universe feels closer. The sisters led Ben to the council chamber, where the elder awaited. His eyes were kind, filled with approval. The city has witnessed a new bond, he said. Your choice shows that understanding and honesty can create unity even where tradition is strong. Sarava will remember this day. The elder placed a small crystal orb in Ben's hands. This is a symbol of your bond, he explained. It is not magic, but it will always remind you of the trust and care you share. Ben held it carefully, feeling the weight of responsibility and honor. Days passed, and life in the city settled into a new rhythm. Ben continued to work alongside the sisters, helping repair and improve the city's energy systems. Together, they strengthened the floating platforms, ensuring that the city could withstand storms like the one that had brought Ben here. Ben's presence, his courage, and his ingenuity inspired the citizens. Rena often took him to explore the hanging gardens, floating markets, and sky bridges. Her laughter echoed across the platforms as she showed him the secret corners of the city that only locals knew. Luma, quiet and observant, taught him about Saravan culture, history, and the delicate balance of energy that kept the city afloat. Ben learned quickly, and the sisters marveled at his ability to understand complex systems and adapt to new challenges. One evening, the three of them stood together on a high platform overlooking the city. Lanterns floated upward, and the stars sparkled above like tiny jewels. I never imagined that humans could make such a difference here, Luma said, her voice soft but proud. Ben shook his head. It is not just me. It is all of us. You trusted me, and we trusted each other. That is what makes the difference. Rena leaned against him, her energy warm and reassuring. And now, we are more than just friends or partners. We are a family in our own way. We share trust, courage, and care for each other. That is stronger than anything the stars can throw at us. News of their unique bond spread throughout the city and beyond. Scholars, explorers, and travelers from distant worlds came to Sarava, curious to meet the human and the sisters who had created a new form of unity. They shared knowledge, technology, and stories, building bridges between worlds. Ben, Luma, and Rena became ambassadors, showing that understanding, honesty, and courage could overcome differences and create strong connections across the stars. As months passed, the trio traveled to nearby floating cities, sometimes riding on gliders, other times walking across connecting bridges. They taught humans and Saravans alike how to work together, share ideas, and respect each other's strengths. Ben often reminded the people he met that courage was not just in battle or adventure, but in being honest, kind, and willing to trust others. One morning, as they returned to their tower after a long day, Ben looked at the sisters and smiled. I have traveled far across the stars, but I have never felt at home until now. Luma's eyes softened. Home is not a place, Ben. It is where hearts are connected. Rena added, and where courage meets trust. We have found that together. The three of them stood side by side on the balcony, looking at the city below. The floating platforms glimmered in the morning sun, the bridges stretched across clouds, and life moved forward with energy and hope. The bonds they shared were more than ceremony or promise. They were proof that humans, even far from Earth, could bring something special to the universe: heart, courage, and the ability to unite others. As they held hands, Ben realized that their adventure was only beginning. Together, they would explore new worlds, solve new challenges, and inspire others to believe that understanding and care could bridge any distance. The stars above Sarava felt closer than ever, filled with endless possibilities. The floating city below continued to hum and glow, a city transformed by honesty, courage, and love. The trio looked toward the horizon, ready for the future. They were not just a human and two sisters. They were a team, a family, and a symbol of hope. And together, they knew they could face anything that awaited them among the stars.